Imagine this: Europe, the cradle of modern civilization, teetering on the brink of financial ruin, with leaders whispering about war as a convenient smokescreen. Meanwhile, gold prices soar, central banks hoard the yellow metal, and Bitcoin enthusiasts tout it as the ultimate escape hatch. Today, we're diving into two riveting conversations that paint a stark picture of our global economy's future. One, with forecaster Martin Armstrong warning of collapse and conflict, and another with economist Keith Weiner exploring gold's resurgence and its showdown with digital currencies. Buckle up as we unpack the data, names, and places shaping this high-stakes drama. Let's start with Armstrong's grim outlook on the West, particularly Europe. He argues that the region is mirroring the fall of communism, trapped in what he calls Ponzi economics, issuing new debt to pay off old, with no end in sight. Take the United States. Its national debt hit $1 trillion under Ronald Reagan in 1980, but now, interest payments alone devour $1 trillion annually. Europe fares no better. In 1 week, reports surfaced that both France and the United Kingdom might need international monetary fund bailouts, a claim echoed by France's own finance minister. Armstrong points to leaders like Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer as the most vocal war hawks, precisely because their economies are in dire straits. France, he notes, holds $71 billion in frozen Russian assets, and there's chatter they've been dipping into them, alongside Euroclear's over $300 billion. If peace breaks out, that cash must return, exposing the cracks. Why war? Armstrong sees it as a distraction tactic. He recalls how Joe Biden blamed Vladimir Putin for inflation after Russian sanctions spiked gas prices. In Europe, it's amplified. NATO, he says, should have dissolved after the Warsaw Pact fell, but internal memos reveal officials scrambling to stay relevant, demanding 5% of gross domestic product from members for defense. Putin, in power since 1999, has no designs on invading Europe, Armstrong insists. That's neoconservative propaganda from figures like Bill Kristol, whom he debated in the 1990s. Instead, ethnic tensions fuel conflicts like in Ukraine, where the Minsk agreements were ignored, allowing the Donbas home to Russian speakers to vote on separation, much like Czechoslovakia split into Czech Republic and Slovakia, or Yugoslavia fractured into Serbia, Croatia, and Albania. Delving deeper into Ukraine, Armstrong cites chilling stats. Between 2014 and 2022, Ukrainian forces killed 14,000 Russians in Donbas, mostly civilians. Volodymyr Zelensky then amassed 120,000 troops east of the Dnieper River, prompting Russia's intervention. Early peace deals were sabotaged. Angela Merkel admitted the Minsk Accord was never meant to be honored, and Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to block another. Now, 1.8 million Ukrainians are dead, up from 130,000 when Zelensky campaigned on peace. 8 million fled to the European Union, 5 million to Russia, leaving 13 million potential voters. Yet no elections, despite World War I and II not suspending them in the United Kingdom or United States. Armstrong reveals Zelensky wires $50 million monthly to United Arab Emirates accounts, with billions unaccounted for. On the Baltics, polls show fear among residents, but Armstrong dismisses invasion risks, quoting Hermann Göring at Nuremberg. Leaders rally people by claiming imminent attack, as with Iraq's non-existent weapons of mass destruction, or Franklin Delano Roosevelt knowing about Pearl Harbor via decoded Japanese messages. Even the Honolulu Tribune leaked it days before. False flags loom like the CIA's Operation Northwoods proposing to kill Americans to blame Cuba, vetoed by John Fitzgerald Kennedy. If Europe escalates with Taurus missiles, Armstrong warns, removing Putin attempted months ago would install a hardliner like Dmitry Medvedev, worsening matters. Shifting to finance, Armstrong predicts Western collapse by 2032, with China ascending as financial capital. He advised on the euro's creation in 1998, urging debt consolidation, but Helmut Kohl berated a German vote, fearing a 7-3 loss. Now, the euro can't back stablecoins effectively. Higher rates fuel inflation, he says, as governments, the biggest borrowers, won't cut spending, unlike John Maynard Keynes's era of balanced budgets. Historical parallels abound. 14th century mines defaulted after overborrowing, sacked by creditors. Bretton Woods crumbled in 1971 after Vietnam War spending, with gold fixed at $35 but dollars unlimited. For war funding, Armstrong equates United States stablecoins under the Genius Act to 1863 Civil War bonds, where banks issued currency against 90% of bought debt. Preparation advice. Europeans should hold assets abroad like dollars, 70% of which circulate outside the United States, uncancelable unlike euros or rupees. Central bank digital currencies mean capital controls. France limits cash withdrawals to 3,000 euros without permission. World War I shuttered stock markets. Expect similar in conflict. Institutional clients shift gold from London and Zurich to the United States pre-war. Armstrong forecasts international war next year, not a monolithic clash, but flare-ups. Russia-Ukraine with European Union and NATO, Israel-Iran, India-Pakistan, Thailand-Cambodia, China-Taiwan, North-South Korea, Russian ships in the Sea of Japan rattling Tokyo. His computer, fed every database, spots contagions. Rome's 509 before Christ Republic inspired Athens' democracy. 1848 revolutions swept from Italy across Europe. Tiananmen Square preceded the Berlin Wall's fall. In Europe, pension shortfalls could spark riots. The alternative for Germany party surges amid migrant influxes. Romania ordered to take 100,000 Africans and Middle Easterners, potentially draftable against Russia, echoing Roman Emperor Valens in 360 after death, who let Goths in for military use, only to be killed by them. Now, pivot to Keith Weiner's gold-centric view, echoing Armstrong's collapse theme but spotlighting precious metals and Bitcoin. Gold's bull run differs from 2009 to 2011's hyperinflation fears post-quantitative easing. Today, drivers are regional. Chinese hedge against yuan controls. Indians save amid rupee's 7 to 9% annual dollar drop. Turks flee hyperinflation risks. Arabs distrust United States policy, with Donald Trump eyeing dollar devaluation. Western buying trickles, driven by $40 trillion United States debt. $400,000 per 100 million productive workers atop state, local, and personal debts. Central banks bought over 1,000 tons yearly past 3 years, repatriating to Serbia, Hungary, Germany, Netherlands pulling home. Russia buys Iranian drones with gold, bypassing SWIFT. BRICS use it for exchange, not just reserves. But debt dynamics delay collapse. More borrowing demands more dollars for servicing, suppressing hyperinflation years away. Watch metrics. Zero or negative rates signal crushed profitability. Gold backwardation. Futures below spot indicates bank distrust, as in 2008 or Gordon Brown's 1999 United Kingdom sale. Post-collapse, Weiner envisions private gold standards competing, not government mandated. No coins too frictional, soft, high value. Digital gold via vaults, redeemable for trust, like 19th century $20 bills yielding 1-ounce coins. Frictionless like Uber, gold earns yield via monetary metals leasing to miners, jewelers. Versus Bitcoin. Weiner debated Pierre Rochard at Mises Institute, Auburn, Alabama, winning landslide. Bitcoin's unredeemable, unstable world hyperdeflated in Bitcoin terms, unsuitable for octogenarian widows after 79% drops. Let markets decide. Scotland's free banking thrived. United States Coinage Act fixed silver gold, birthing Federal Reserve via William Jennings Bryan's revenge. Fiat, S future. Once trust shatters, like Zimbabwe's post-hyperinflation failures or Latin America's dollarization, it won't revive. Argentina's peso lingers sans total wipeout. Dollars, pounds started gold redeemable but adulterated. Avert via gold bonds. Weiner's papers. When gold backwardation becomes permanent and how gold bonds avert Armageddon. Detail. United States gold audited yearly through 2011 per letter to Ron Paul. 8,000 tons at Fort Knox, but irrelevant sans redeemability. Wrapping up, Armstrong and Weiner converge on exponential debt's catastrophe. United States at 35 trillion heading 40, Europe bailout bound. War distracts, gold stabilizes, Bitcoin competes. By 2032, China's consumer shift could dominate per Armstrong's models. Human nature repeats. Otto von Bismarck predicted 1888 Balkan Wars. Now, contagions brew. Stay vigilant. Your portfolio might depend on it.